Hey, can you hear me okay?
Can hear you loud and clear. Yeah, I think it's because I was messing around with Streamlabs too much that I might have to change. I changed some keys.
No worries.
Oh, I see what happened. I have the wrong one set up. Trying to do this in half a window. This is very unprofessional on my side, but I'm glad you can hang out.
Nah, no worries, man.
How's the weather? You're in New York?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It was hot this past weekend. I'm actually gonna go grab some water quickly
Oh,
though.
set up. Oh,
Uh,
wait, we are online.
we are online. There we
Trying to
go.
do
How's
this
it
in
going
half
again?
a window.
Coming in.
YouTube Studio did not show me what was happening. Sorry. So we are This live. is Here we very unprofessional
Yeah.
on my side, but I'm glad you can hang out. See? Yeah. Sorry about that. All right, now I gotta mute that. Yeah. Man, this Streamlabs and YouTube Studio, that there is a delay there, and I think I showed the keys to whatever. Let's just chat. All right, I'm with Rob Margolis, the director of institutional services from BlockFi. He's gonna talk to us about BlockFi. Hey, Rob, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks. Thanks for being here. Could you tell us about BlockFi? What BlockFi is? Just like the quick summary. What is BlockFi?
Yeah, absolutely. So the right way to think about BlockFi is almost like a crypto bank in a lot of ways. So we have one side of our business, which is this, incredible consumer-facing business, which most people are familiar with. When you go to the website, BlockFi.com, it has our four main products. So we launched with fiat loans backed by crypto collateral. We grew that into our interest account product, so where you can deposit both crypto and USD and earn interest on it, 8.6% on stablecoin deposits, for example. We launched trading, so you can now trade in and out of both crypto and fiat pairs. Um, that business has grown incredibly fast, certainly over the past big vol period we've had over this past week and a half. But it's been a really exciting new business for BlockFi. And then in the next month or so, we're going to be launching our crypto rewards credit card, which is going
Mm.
to work just like any credit card you have in your wallet, except you'll be able to earn, instead of miles or points that you're not really using right now, you'll actually earn crypto. And that crypto will get deposited into your BlockFi account and start earning interest on it. And so that, is this incredible consumer facing side. And then on the other side of the business, we have the institutional side. And that's the side of the business that I sit on. And in its simplest form, what we do is we generate a return on those assets through a number of different mechanisms, primarily financing. That's BlockFi's bread and butter. That's what our company was built on. So we will provide loans to large institutions, mainly big traditional hedge funds or prop trading firms or corporates, but also crypto native firms, which is the segment that I look after. Um, we offer a full trading desk, so the ability to trade, long and short crypto positions as well as margin positions. We also have a asset management business, and we're going to continue to look to add ancillary sort of prime brokerage like services around crypto for our institutional counterparties.
Yes. So it sounds like BlockFi probably is the closest to a crypto bank in the US. I know there are some competitors, but they don't have the same level of access to banking. They don't have ACH transfers, or there is limited interest, there is limited access for US citizens. Could you speak about how BlockFi got into such a role, like how they are leading the pack, kind of how Coinbase is leading the pack in crypto exchanges within the US, that is?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there plenty of great crypto companies in this space, all looking to sort of solve for how do we get more and more people invested in the digital asset space, and I think that's something that BlockFi is continuing to be a leader in. Uh, And where that starts is just with client service, right? BlockFi is one of the only crypto companies out there where you can actually find a phone number on our website where you can actually call up a real person and talk to somebody. And I think that's one of the big differentiating factors of a company like BlockFi as we aim to get more and more people invested in digital assets and offer them services that they're used to in their traditional financial economy, right? Things like or a savings account, as an example, or things like a brokerage account, where it's all very easy to set up, it's easy to use, it's intuitive. Take out a loan against their crypto.
Yeah, speaking of that, BlockFi is the only one of the only crypto places that actually got back to me when I requested some help within 8 hours, and I made that email like at 3 in the morning, U.S. time. So, how many people are working at BlockFi in the like just the whole BlockFi ecosystem and in customer service?
Yeah,
If you know that number.
yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it feels like every like twice a month we have sort of a slide where our HR team announces all the new joiners that we have. So this number could be completely off, but last time I checked, we were around 775 people globally
Oh
with
wow.
offices in, yeah, it's amazing, with offices in New York, London, Singapore, and then we also have very large development offices in Poland and Argentina.
I did not know BlockFi was that big. I was just looking at their LinkedIn page, and I did not see 700 people on there. But that is amazing growth. How did you get
Yeah.
into BlockFi? Like, what led you to this company?
Yeah, I to start from the beginning with my career. So I came from traditional finance. I did equity derivative structuring at Goldman. Uh, got moved over into fixed income trading. Wasn't really, keen on being a trader for the rest of my life, and I got an opportunity at a company called LedgerX, which is the first CFTC approved exchange for physically settled options on Bitcoin. One of the co-founders worked in single stock vol at Goldman, and she reached out asking if I would be interested in joining to work on the institutional sales team there. So I figured, it's way more interesting than trading muni bonds for the rest of my life. So I
Hmm.
decided to jump into crypto in 2017, and I worked at LedgerX for 2 years. Uh, by nature of crypto just being a relatively small industry at the time, certainly on the institutional side, and also, by nature of my position at a derivatives exchange and seeing the importance of credit and what that would play within the broader crypto market, I'd gotten to know Zach and Renee from BlockFi, Zach being our CEO, obviously, and founder, and Renee being our chief risk officer and head of institutions. I gotten to know them pretty well, and they were building out the institutional team, and they were looking for somebody to join to head up this crypto native business. So I now lead all of our crypto native institutional sales. So whether it's hedge funds, prop trading firms, corporates, um, meaning like big exchanges, as an example, foundations, miners, family offices that are heavily weighted towards crypto. I cover that all from the institutional side.
Okay. So just to recap for the people watching, BlockFi gives you interest on your cryptocurrency or stable coins. They take your money and then they loan it out to institutional investors who borrow it for a larger interest amount, and then BlockFi makes money on that margin. Rob, can you speak about how BlockFi vets these institutional borrowers?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's probably the most important question anybody could ask. So I would say, on the whole, BlockFi's risk management is just incredibly conservative, and for good reason. Like we saw through these moves over the past week, it's really important within crypto, a 100+ fall asset, to make sure that you're being very conservative when you're providing capital to the space. So, first off, it starts with our management team, right? So we have guys like our general counsel who came from Renaissance, one of the largest hedge funds in the world. Our chief security officer, Adam, who came from Backed. Uh, Renee, who I mentioned before, head of institutions and chief risk officer. He spent decades in Bank of America's prime brokerage business, heading up a lot of their structured lending. So we have this deep, deep roster of very established management who understands the risks associated with providing capital. And so that's sort of layer one, right? That's the DNA that built BlockFi. The next step on that is, counterparty selection. Who do we look at to be an institutional client? There's two main like minimum qualifications you have to meet in order to just get your foot in the door and even to have a conversation about being an institutional client. One you have to have audited financials. It's really just a firm requirement of ours at this point for new institutional clients is that they have to have audited financials. And then you have to have at least a minimum of 10 million in equity. Once you meet those two qualifications, then we can start having a conversation around credit underwriting. So each one of our institutional counterparties has their own dedicated credit officer at BlockFi. We have a whole team of credit officers who came from Bank of America's hedge fund credit risk team to help analyze each one of our institutional counterparty credit. So they'll do a due diligence where they'll request the financials, they'll request risk management, or risk packets, they'll request like management bios, investor decks, and get this whole package together. And then they have a series of calls with each institutional participant where they dive into all the materials of their business and how they're being run and what type of risk they're taking, what type of strategies they're implementing, and how they're going to use the capital, where they're sourcing their capital from. And they'll combine all this together and then make an assessment on both gross and net credit limits that we can take to each client. And so, gross limits, the right way to look at that is what's the max amount of exposure that we would take to any one client. And then we size that appropriately based on the overall size of BlockFi's business, based on our overall balance sheet and how much risk we're comfortable taking to any one counterparty. Okay. The net exposure is really just a function.
Oh yeah, I love that they are vetting very seriously with these large institutional borrowers. How is the demand? Like, how much demand is there, especially with those requirements? And where is the float? Is there too much retail investments? Is there too much institutional borrowers?
Yeah, it's through the roof. I mean, we frankly just don't have enough hours in the day to deal with all the demand that we have coming through to our institutional desk is the honest answer. I think the interesting thing about crypto is that it's just incredibly cyclical. So we'll go through cycles where there's just insane demand for US dollar borrowing, as an example. Then the market will flip one day and now can't get crypto out the door fast enough. So there's this never ending cycle of looking to provide capital within the crypto space. And then that doesn't even touch on the other ancillary businesses like trading and asset management that I mentioned before that are seeing incredible growth recently.
Yeah, within the crypto space, the last few months, a lot of people have been having trouble getting into crypto. They have been they've been waitlisted to get onto an exchange, and a lot of people don't know like BlockFi is the back door into cryptocurrency because you can ACH transfer or wire transfer money directly to them and have cryptocurrency. There is a broker fee. It ranges, it hovers around 1%. Could you talk about that broker fee and how that is calculated, or where BlockFi is buying their crypto?
Do you mean broker fee meaning we don't charge fees explicitly on our trading platform?
Right. I meant there is a small spread. Like, where is that spread coming from? Is that through Gemini or?
Yeah. So exactly, there is a spread that's built into all of our trading platforms. I mean, that spread is mostly just a function of making sure that we're appropriately managing the risk on our trading platform.
It's super volatile.
As we look. Exactly. So anybody who is trading it over the past few weeks have seen that spread. So it's just making sure that we're effectively managing the risk as we get orders coming through our book, just because BlockFi we're not an exchange, right? So we're not, just matching up buyers and sellers.
Okay. Question from the comments. How is my crypto safe? How are the funds insured? Like for the retail investor, I know you explained it on the technical side. Let's break it down for people to put it simply for someone who's just looking from the outside, doesn't have that much experience with investing. It's like, I'm putting my money here. How safe is it? What's my risk? What's the worst that could happen? And what are those odds?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say first off, BlockFi is not a custodian. So we work with some of the best custodians in the space to hold your assets securely. So our primary custodian is Gemini. We work with big name companies like BitGo, Fidelity, Fireblocks, Coinbase Custody, some of the best names within crypto. What it goes back to, what it starts with, again, is our chief security officer, Adam Healy, who's absolutely fantastic. He's built his own custodians, starting with Digital Asset Custody Group and moving into Bakkt, which, was one of the most highly regulated custodians in crypto and a subsidiary of the New York Stock Exchange. He built that custodian from the ground up, right? So he has an incredible amount of experience with what goes in to due diligencing an appropriate custodian that we'll work with. So I think that's its key right there. We are, at the forefront of what it takes to run a custodian with our experience from Adam. So that starts it. And then I would say, it's very important to note we don't have insurance on our products. We're not a custodian, so there is a certain amount of counterparty risk that you take to BlockFi. But then that goes into what I was explaining before with how we manage the credit risk on the institutional side. I think it's always really important to note that across our entire loan book, we haven't had a single loss, whether that's on the retail side or the institutional side. We've never even liquidated an institutional participant. So over this past whole week of
50%
serious re-standardization moves, we haven't liquidated a single institutional participant. And that goes to the fact of how conservatively we structure these loans and who our institutional counterparties are.
Excellent. So let me break that down. Still pretty technical. This is I know you're used to it. It's no problem. I just want to break it down so other people just to just summarize it. So what BlockFi does, they send the cryptocurrency to a custodian, and the custodian is these highly qualified people that manage that cryptocurrency, and they manage those keys. So BlockFi is not managing it, and they do go through insurance companies, and these custodians, they are responsible if something happens to it. Now, BlockFi isn't necessarily responsible for it, but the custodian is. So it's like they have a third party doing all that managing. And then with that money is then converted into loans for institutional investors, and then the institutional investors pay an interest rate on what they borrow, and then that money flows back into BlockFi, and it flows back into the BlockFi investors. So if I'm putting my Bitcoin and stable coins into BlockFi, that's how I'm earning my interest. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, that is correct. I think the simplest way to think about it is when you go to a bank, like your traditional bank, for example, and you go to take out a mortgage, that cash comes from somewhere, and that cash comes from their depositors at the bank, right? Right now banks aren't paying their cash depositors a lot of money, but interest rates on the mortgages are also quite low, historically low, right? It's effectively the same business. That's the best analogy you can think to it.
Yes, and some people are asking about explain the risk. Yes, the accounts aren't FDIC insured, but that's the same for like the stock market. If you own stocks are not FDIC insured. You are taking on some risk, but it's still relatively incredibly low for anything to happen.
Yeah, correct. We aren't FDIC insured at the moment. I think it's as with anything, there's always risks inherent in any investment, and it's appropriate for anybody to make sure they're doing their due diligence. Listening to podcasts like this where you can ask questions directly to somebody from BlockFi is a great way to do it. But overall, within the crypto ecosystem, BlockFi is an incredibly conservative firm with how we approach risk and the appetite we have for that for our clients.
Excellent. So something happened with BlockFi this past week. The March promotion was paid out and mistakenly paid out in BTC instead of USD. So if someone was going to earn a $700 reward for their trading bonus, they earned 700 BTC. Could you speak about how that happened and like what kind of risks there are to the BlockFi platform with that?
Yeah, absolutely. One, I think the biggest thing to make sure that's just, abundantly clear is that this affected less than 100 clients on the BlockFi platform. BlockFi also has, I think at this point, like well over maybe 300 or 400,000 active users on our platform. So an incredibly small percentage of overall BlockFi users. The actual sizes being referenced are, a very small percentage of BlockFi's overall balance sheet. And although those sizes might not have been 100% accurate with what's being represented, the important thing to note is that we've done an incredible job of getting most of those funds recovered back from BlockFi, such that any sort of outstanding balance is well within our operational reserves that we set aside on our balance sheet for any sort of error. So there's absolutely no risk to BlockFi equity even, let alone any sort of customer funds. That's just like the first thing to be very, very clear about. The other things to note is that, no customer data was breached. There was no hacks. There was never any risk to customer or client funds. Um, Withdrawals were all being processed in a normal time.
Yeah, so yeah, I was also concerned about that. People were talking about this online. I was able to do a withdrawal. I was testing it, just making sure. Yes, my funds are still accessible. They are, and there was a lot of
Yeah.
negative press about this, and I don't know why. I don't know why BlockFi just didn't engage this. Like, hey, join BlockFi. You might accidentally get Bitcoin instead of US dollars.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Do it as a promotion on a promotion.
Yeah, it's like this is like press you guys could have like dove right into and be like, all right, yeah, don't accidentally join us. We might give you too much money.
Yeah, I know. I guess I'll give some pointers back to our marketing team after this.
So here's a question: will BlockFi offer ETH 2.0 staking? I know the BlockFi platform they don't really make their money from staking, but would that be an option in the future?
That's a really interesting question. It's something we're looking at very closely. I think ETH 2.0 staking is it's one of those things where if you think about BlockFi's business, and we are our balances are around 20 billion in assets on our platform. A very meaningful position of that is our client deposits are in Ethereum. So we are very, very, meaningful Ethereum holders. And if we're not able to offer Ethereum 2 as a service to our clients, we're going to lose a lot of customer deposits because people will go and look for where the risk-free rate is, the protocol rate effectively on this asset. And either we're going to have to, pay above that risk-free rate to clients to have them use BlockFi service, or they're going to go elsewhere. So I think it's something that, in the future, you should expect BlockFi to be able to offer as a service to our clients. We just want to make sure that we're doing it in an incredibly thoughtful and safe way, so our clients are not put at risk with their funds, because there's still a lot of development being done on that ecosystem. But we're monitoring it very closely.
Oh, awesome. Speaking of products down the line, I was thinking, is there or could there be a possibility where BlockFi could offer Bitcoin or cryptocurrency as a gift? I know what's like stockpile, you could give stock as a gift, but it just holds like the USD value until that stock is claimed. Would BlockFi in the future be able to facilitate that kind of gifting service? I know I could like make private keys and give it to them, but I don't want to be responsible. I'm like, hey, claim this here.
It's a great question. Not something, truthfully, that I'm 100% familiar with of whether we're going to look to offer that or not. But I think it's one of the things that, like, at the end of the day, if our clients ask for something and we get enough inbound requests for products like gifting, as an example, we're certainly going to do it because we're in a client-facing business at its core, right? And if we're not offering the services that our clients want, they're going to go elsewhere for it. And I think generally we want to build an ecosystem where clients are keeping assets at BlockFi and using BlockFi for all their services, whether it's traditional banking or gifting or retirement or whatever.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I know. I just kind of threw that out there. Just kind of had that idea. I was like, yeah, I would
I
like
like
to
it.
gift it. Because I did gift some friends Litecoin a few years back for their wedding, but I had to like facilitate it and I did not enjoy that process. And like, okay, what's
No, and I think
cryptocurrency, all this
also,
stuff, yeah. Oh, and
yeah, and look, I think as more and more entities, charities, for example, start taking contributions in
mhm.
crypto, I think gifting is going to become more and more of a relevant service for us to offer to our clients.
And speaking more of gifting than ungifting, let's say someone passes away, and a beneficiary isn't set on that BlockFi account. What happens to that money? How can like a the next of kin claim that if in the event that happens? Because crypto is still very new. A lot of people aren't thinking, what happens if I pass away? How does this get transferred? And I did not set a beneficiary.
Yeah, truthfully, again, I'm not 100% familiar with how that process works. We have a fantastic client service team on our side who would be able to help out with anybody who's facing that type of situation where they need to recover assets from, a family member or somebody who passed away. So I think so long as you just, call up that line on the website, you'll be able to get access to somebody at BlockFi pretty quickly who'll be able to help with that transfer of assets.
Oh, okay. Another question. How do assets get listed on BlockFi? Like you have a certain coin selection. How is that? What's the selection process there? Will more be added? If more are added, what's the process with that?
Yeah, so we're actively looking to try to add more assets to BlockFi. We recognize that we're a little bit behind the eight ball when it comes to listing new products here, or excuse me, I should say new assets, not new products. But we are hopefully going to announce in the not too distant future a range of new asset listings on our platform. We got a pretty big directive from the management team here that we want to be more aggressive when it comes to that nature. Now, the biggest thing for us is that we have to make sure that we comply from a regulation standpoint with any assets that we have listed on our platform. And so we're not at a place where we're going to be listing anything that looks like it could be a security. That's going to be sort of the first and foremost. There needs to be sufficient.
Could you tell us
Go ahead.
what would qualify as a security? Like, there's a bunch of tokens out there. What is a security? What is not a security?
Yeah, so it's definitely something that's better answered by somebody in our legal department. It's not really my call to make exactly,
Mm-hmm.
but we have this whole legal department that's constantly analyzing new tokens and putting them through the various tests on their end to see if something would qualify potentially as a security. I think for us, it's also not so much just saying like, is there exact clear guidance of whether something is or isn't a security, because, we haven't necessarily received that across every asset. But if there is something that could be potentially viewed as a security, whether it's, determination made by us or with our outside legal counsel, that's something that we're just not, at least at this current stage, going to look to list on our platform and put ourselves and our clients at risk.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah, I know a lot of people are demanding certain coins, at least in the chat. Yeah, it's just.
What are the number one coming up right now? What are most
Well,
people demanding?
some people were mentioning ADA or Shiba Inu. I really doubt Shiba Inu is going to make it on there. It's a very high risk coin. Yeah, or
Yeah, I
Bonfire.
think
Yeah.
outside of the legal aspect of it, there needs to be sufficient trading volume. Ideally, it's traded on a few different venues. Ideally, it has significant institutional demand for the asset. Very established protocols that have been well audited from a technical standpoint. These are all the type of things that we look to list any sort of new asset. So we're running a bunch through our internal processes right now to see which ones we can get expedited as quickly as possible.
Any you can tell us now so we know what to buy?
I wish I could disclose, but we do have a few pretty good ones. I think people are going to be very excited about coming up in the not too distant future.
Oh, awesome, awesome. All right, let's see. Any other questions? Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Yes. The credit card launch. I am excited about that. Is there any features you can discuss about that?
Yeah, so I mean, it's generally just going to look a lot like a standard credit card that you would have in your wallet. I'm not sure what specific features people are looking to hear, but most of it's disclosed on our website. So you should be able to log on, sign up for the waitlist, and then we're going to be starting to roll through that waitlist in the not too distant future.
Okay. Well, one more. Does BlockFi provide a tax statement, like for all the interest you're earning, and then they have to report it?
Yeah, you should be able to pull a tax statement off of your BlockFi interest account page.
Excellent. Could you
Under
talk
the report
about
section, I believe.
could you talk about market color? Because I know you do a lot of deep dive research into this, and I'd like it if you could share your thoughts on the market, what's happening, how BlockFi sets itself up for success in a volatile market.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, obviously this past week has been an absolutely crazy week for crypto. It started off with the news out of China about the government's potential ban on Bitcoin mining. That caused a big potential sell-off, and then we saw up to $8 billion of liquidations at the end of last week, which just further drove the price down. We finally started to see some support, and the low 30K range, which is fantastic to see. We saw more and more institutional buyers coming into the BlockFi system looking to buy, which was really exciting. And then over the weekend, it ended up just being a function of liquidity drying up. Some players started to pull out of the market. And then as liquidity dried up, we saw more. I think we saw like another billion of liquidations come through over the weekend, which drove the price back down again. But same story as before. And I think this is what's really, at least in my view, different from this rally versus different, this sort of, mini bear cycle versus previous bear cycles, is that the institutional demand for crypto is still there. Like we are now seeing more people not just saying, "Oh, there's a lot of volatility, I'm scared off." It's more the narrative of, "Oh, this is an opportunity for me to get exposure into crypto." So more and more people are coming in and saying, "Okay, this is a great price to be buying Bitcoin at, or a great price to be buying Ethereum at," and coming in and going long at these levels, which has been exciting, and it's what's partially fueled this rally over the past day.
Translation: institutions are buying the dip.
Yeah, institutions are very excited. Look, I think one thing that I've seen on my end that is incredibly encouraging to me is institutions in 2017 when I first got into this industry, institutions were starting to dip their toe in the crypto. They were starting to say, oh, there's just this crazy run up to 25K, we should start looking at this, and all of a sudden it sold off and the institutions went completely silent. Now, end of 2019, beginning of 2020, we have this sort of second revolution of the institutions are coming into crypto, right? And it's also really important to bifurcate traditional institutions versus crypto institutions, because there are plenty of big crypto institutions that have been in the asset space for years now. But on the traditional institution side, what's really exciting for me right now is these money managers are now not just looking at Bitcoin. I had, a guy whose name is on the front page of the Wall Street Journal quite frequently. He came to me recently asking about investing in different DeFi assets. These are the type of things that are incredibly exciting for the crypto space, right? If these guys are starting to look at investing in DeFi, that is going to add just a whole nother of credibility to a incredibly important part of the overall ecosystem for crypto.
Got it. Translation: BlockFi is going to list some DeFi coins. Get ready, guys. I'm kidding. Not financial advice.
Yeah.
But
not financial advice.
Just think about DeFi coins that would potentially make it on there. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Do we have any other questions? Let us know in the chat. Anything else you'd like us to know about BlockFi or yourself, Rob?
No, I think just make sure you sign up on the BlockFi waitlist for the credit card. The platform has seen incredible volume over the past week. It's been an incredibly great week for broadly for BlockFi. Our business does very well in volatility, so we'd love to get more and more people on the platform, earning interest, holding your crypto securely, leveraging us for trading, and then waiting because soon we're going to be launching this credit card. That's going to be a fantastic addition to the BlockFi suite of products.
Excellent. I'm very excited about that. I am a BlockFi user. I guess I plugged my link, blockfi.com/FVD. Totally pushing it, just because you really should diversify your risk, especially if you are older. You really shouldn't go all in on crypto. Have some safe assets. Don't go all in on the small coins. Have some of the bigger ones that don't move as fast. Still not financial advice. Do whatever you want to do. And Dan is totally ignoring. Well, it's hard to read and talk, guys. Yeah. Yeah, this is the first live chat. Thanks for joining us, Rob. That was great. And I'll probably do another live stream right after this. If anyone has any other questions, I can chat. And then that won't make this video too long. Thanks for joining us, Rob. And have a good day.
Perfect. Thank you for having me, guys. Everyone take